Hey, so last week I put up a YouTube video of like a keyboard cover of Inside My Love by Minnie Riperton. It's got this incredible Rhodes interlude in it, which I covered, and I used the Nord for MIDI input, but all the sound was coming from the Prophet 6, which was this patch that I made, which is sort of a Rhodes inspired patch, but it also kind of it's inspired by the Rhodes, but it definitely still sounds like a synth. It just sounds really cool, I reckon. And a lot of people liked the patch and asked me to show them how I made it. So I'm going to do a YouTube video showing you, all the parameters, where I set them, how I made the patch. So this is what the patch, this is basically what the patch sounds like. And apologies, I only have one hand because I had wrist surgery a bit over a week ago, so I can't really show off the patch and everything that it can, all the great stuff, the expressive capabilities of it, but it really has a lot you can do with it. You can I find it really good for like Rhodes stuff, soul kind of music, neo soul kind of stuff, and but also you can get into very modern synthy territory with it as well. So what I'm going to do is I've just got the patch loaded up here, and what I'm going to do is initialize the patch and then go just step by step to build it up back to the saved patch that it is. And so every time I turn a knob and I get to the right value, that dot will show up telling me that I've set it to the saved value, which is the value that, I want for the sound. Okay, so here we go. So first thing is I always start with oscillators. So we've got oscillator 1 and oscillator 2. With oscillator 1, we've got a triangle wave. Oscillator 2 is not quite a saw, not quite a triangle. It's between triangle and saw. And it's almost on saw, but it's just, I think it's about one line below the 12 o'clock position, which is a saw wave. And then for the mixer, we've got oscillator 1, which is the triangle, set not quite at full, it's a bit below full, I think it's one line below full. And then oscillator 2 is at 100% volume, no sub, no noise. And while we're here, there's not going to be any slop, so don't worry about the slop. So that sounds like this. Obviously, nothing like what we're going for. So the next thing is the fine tuning. There it is. Jeez, that was hard to get the exact spot. But yeah, so it's just oscillator 2 is just a pretty subtle amount of increased pitch to give it that slight chorusing sound, and then frequency for the macro frequency, we've actually got these both of these up an octave from C2 to C3. C2 is sort of the default frequency. I've got them both up an octave to C3. I'll explain why later. But so that's the sound now. So the next thing is just quickly the amp envelope. We've got zero attack. We've got decay is at full, which means sustain really isn't doing anything, but I've got it there for whatever reason. And then release, we've got just a little bit of release. Hopefully you can see how much it is there. But that's just, all that is just to stop, just enough release that it doesn't click when I release the note. So that really hasn't affected the sound very much. The main thing that's going to really impact the sound is the filter envelope, right? So what we want to do is bring the filter envelope up a bit, and then to compensate for that, we need to bring the cutoff down to here. Now it's doing very little. So in the filter envelope, we've got attack on 0, then we've got quite a slow decay, and we've got a very low, pretty low sustain level. And then release is pretty high. It's not at full, but it's quite high. It doesn't, release is essentially not doing anything. The main thing is that it's longer, it's slower than the amplifier envelope release, which means that the filter envelope isn't closing before the amp envelope closes. So filter envelope release is really just do nothing. So now it sounds like this. It's a lot closer now, but what you're finding is that it's not really functioning how we want it to because of the key mode. So if I can get my arm in there. I like to have the key mode on last retrig for almost everything, but definitely when it comes to polyphonic stuff, it just means that if I play a note, I'm gonna hear that note, and I don't have to, like, you know, plan ahead or something. It does mean, of course, that 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. The moment I played a 7th note, we're going to lose that first note. But, you know, that's just analog synthesis for you. So we fixed the key mode. Back to the filter, a few more things. One is we want some resonance. This is what it sounds like now. It's subtle, it's slight, but it just adds a little bit. It's nice. And then we definitely want velocity because it's a Rhodes sound, and a Rhodes responds to velocity. As I'm playing this, I realized that it could do with a little bit of attack to get rid of the click. I don't have that in the patch, but it might be useful, but it also, you lose some of that really nice attack, but you could make up for that with a compressor later if you want. But I'm going to leave it just because that's how I've got the patch saved. And then the final thing on the filter is keyboard tracking. Here's it without keyboard tracking. Here's it with keyboard track. It just sort of tames the lower notes and accentuates the higher notes. And this is why I have the frequencies up an octave. To explain that, I'll show you what happens if I have it down the octave. So right now, that's what it sounds like with the frequencies up the octave. Let me bring them down the octave and show you what that sounds like. And then I need to bring it up an octave here. I'll let you listen to it again. And this is it back up the octave. So what's going on there is that the keyboard tracking, which I've got set to half, keyboard tracking doesn't take into account the frequency at all. It only takes into account the note value that I input into the keyboard. It only cares if, am I playing C1, am I playing A5, am I playing, G flat 6? And that is the only thing that it takes into account when it adjusts the filter cutoff in relation to where it's set. here and here. And so what that means is, if I want a mellower sound, then I want to be playing lower notes. And so I can bring the frequency higher and the octave down so that I get that mellower sound because of the key tracking. And it's possible that I could just bring it down to the default octave and then adjust the cutoff, and then I wouldn't have to, then I might not have to change octave every time I come to this patch. But basically, I don't remember my thought process when I made this patch, and so I'm not sure if that will achieve the exact same effect, and I just decided to trust my old self rather than try and change the patch, because I really like how the patch sounds as it is, so I don't want to change it. But it's up to you. You can experiment, see what you like to do. But so that's how it sounds as it is, and that is more or less the sound. As far as like the core Rhodes sound goes. But obviously there's a couple of more things to make it a bit more tasteful, the most important of which is the LFO, which is going to give us vibrato. So with the LFO, we've got it on both frequencies, which means that it's just vibrato. It's not on anything else. We've got it on triangle, and we've got the initial amount quite low. It's just there, and that's way too fast. So I've got it on quite a slow vibrato. There it is. And gosh, that just sounds gorgeous. Just such a wavy. It's just slightly too strong a vibrato, which is why it sounds so good. It's just slightly unreasonable in how much it modulates the sound, and it just sounds so good. Now, in order to get that frequency correct, I don't have this clocked, synced to a clock or anything. So just so that you can hear what frequency it is, I'm going to put it on a sawtooth and increase the initial amount. You can boom, ba-cha, boom, ba-cha, boom, ba-cha. There you go. Like, now you've heard the frequency more clearly, and then I'll bring it back down here. That sounds incredible, by the way. That's a patch in itself, but that's not what I digress. So this is what that sounds like. So that's, again, we're very close to the sound. One thing I forgot is high pass filter. With the high pass, we've got it set to there. No resonance, no envelope amount, no velocity, no key tracking. We just got it there just to tame those low frequencies and make it a bit more of a balanced sound. And so then the next thing, the pan spread. I just turn it all the way up. And if you're listening to this on headphones, you can really hear how much character that gives the sound. I just love it. And that is essentially, that's the sound. So the only other thing is effects, and I'll show you how I have the effects on it, which can really give it some some more character. But just so you know, on the video that I put out last week with the Inside My Love cover, I didn't have these effects turned on. I just had a reverb in post, and that's all I had. So, to show you the fix, all I'll do is I'll just call up the saved patch, because everything else is as it should be. Forget, the clock here doesn't do anything for this patch. So what I have is chorus. If I turn it off, and so where I have the chorus set is mix at 20, speed at 29, depth at 60. So that's quite a high depth, but the low mix tames that down. And then for effect 2, I actually, if I turn this off for a sec, I actually have the parameters. They're actually exactly the same for whatever reason, but I have them set up for a nice delay. And that sounds pretty good to me. And here's what it sounds like with both. And here's what it sounds like with just some reverb. And here's what it sounds like with everything. So that's the sound. I hope this has been useful for you. I hope I haven't forgotten any parameters in it, but I'm pretty sure I haven't. And I think someone just sent me donuts, so I've got to go answer the door. Bye.